how you can give your teams a safe playground to create brand-approved content.
A company that quietly crossed 45 million in ARR by mastering the art of attention.
Specifically, we're seeing more modern marketers, more kind of full-stack generalists who are being expected to kind of do the job of 10 different people. And
Nothing's too exciting, as it were. Like, what is the one video-led experiment they should run over the next 30 days to actually start seeing results?
So we've actually experimented with a few things last year in 2025 around how we can look at product signals. We actually want to create a fully agentic system that pulls in all those signals.
What is the one specific signal you would say within your data that tells you that a free user is actually part of a high-value company account ready for a sales conversation?
We've actually been able to see a 60% reduction in CAC with our AI-first video ad strategy.
Welcome to GTM Gurus Unplugged. Today we are looking at Veed.io, a company that quietly crossed 45 million in ARR by mastering the art of attention. While most of the world knows them as a simple video editor, they have successfully transitioned into a B2B powerhouse. I am joined by Vecchio, Senior Director of Marketing at Veed. Lisa brings a heavy-hitting B2B pedigree to the table from her time at scaling marketing brands like Aircall and Hootsuite, and now she's the architect responsible for taking that mountain of 10 million users and returning and get into repeatable engine for enterprise growth. Lisa, thank you for jumping on.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
So obviously to dive straight in, we're going to be discussing the tactical play behind how you guys do what you guys do. So of course, Veed gets a massive amount of traffic, right? So over 3 million visitors a month, give or take. Obviously, Lisa, most teams are desperate for this volume of leads. But of course, you guys have the complete opposite problem. You guys are looking through a needle, as it were, in the haystack. What is the one specific signal you would say within your data that tells you that a free user is actually part of a high-value company account ready for a sales conversation?
Okay, well, this is a pretty big question. I'm actually just going to, I think, take you on a little journey because I
Of
think
course.
you mentioned something about the volume of people that we have coming to our website. And actually, that was our secret sauce to how we grew. We were an SEO-driven organic growth company. We actually were building our product in the early days based off of existing demand. People were like, I need a video compressor. And we're like, boom, here you go. So it meant that up into a certain point, we were just in a really lucky position to ride that wave. Saying that, the world's changed. And I think we're at the point with AI and LLMs that we also just can't rely on demand capture anymore. We actually have to start creating new demand. So I just want to emphasize that is a core part of our future looking strategy, and our strategy today is we're not just riding the wave of what's coming through, but you're right, about 90% of our business is self-serve, right? And so you've got a lot of people coming to our front door, signing up, picking a plan. And actually, if you think about who those people are, is there's a good healthy percentage of those who are business users who are enterprise fit. So we've actually experimented with a few things last year in 2025 around how we can look at product signals and actually identify those people with the right firmographics, how we can actually identify them at the point of sign up, enrich that information with additional buyers who may be in the buying committee, because a lot of times those people signing up on our front door aren't our maybe big decision makers for the enterprise fit, but are definitely for a self-serve fit, and then feeding those to the sales team and putting them through sequences to actually accelerate pipeline. That's one thing that we're kind of getting off the ground, that I think getting that flywheel right from PQL to MQL and SQL is definitely not easy and in its early maturity stage. Secondly, we've been experimenting with different signals, but have been quite limited with our tech stack. I'd say we are quite low maturity in that pivot from self-serve to true enterprise growth and enterprise product market fit. And so we were leveraging some basic intent signals from G2, but what we found was it wasn't really giving us that detailed persona-led picture that we needed for our ICP. And I think because of what we do, right, Veed could be a solution as a AI video creation tool, a video editor tool for lots of different departments, not necessarily just who we're targeting that quarter from a sales perspective. So where we are now is kind of reinventing the entire go-to-market. We're actually realizing that there are so many important signals and we shouldn't be treating signals as silos. Okay, here's the job change in in this silo. Here's the, okay, firmographic information in this silo. Here's the pricing page visits. Here are the G2 visits. We actually want to create a fully agentic system that pulls in all those signals using various tools that we're exploring, like Clay and User Gems and Phantom Buster and a few others, to then create fully agentic, low touch workflows, including virtual demos through that whole process. So stay tuned for
Amazing.
the results of that because we're at the early stages of launching.
No, amazing. I think the key thing as well is, for those listening in terms of takeaway, I think when you are where you are building a flywheel around these signals, fundamentally it means that you're meeting buyers as of when they need
Exactly.
obviously their demand to be met, right? And it increases your chances of number one, selling, number two, fulfilling that need. But also number three, you're not losing any potential prospects through an empty bucket. Like you can continue to nurture those individuals if they aren't quite ready at that point. So say, they have triggered some end signal. Based on the context you get from that, you then can make the decision as, okay, great, we need to run them through, provide them more value, nurture them further as it were, and then they will then be in a place where they can commit to X, Y, Z, whatever that might be. But yeah, excited to hear how everything works out. It sounds like you guys have got it locked in for
Well,
2026.
I mean, we'll see. I think the takeaway there as well is like there's often multiple signals happening all at once, and they don't need to be treated as individual account plays. They should be kind of holistic account plays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And of course, you briefly mentioned it. Like Veed obviously doesn't just sell a video tool, right? You guys obviously live and breathe it. You can see it through how you position yourself throughout the market, how you talk about it, and obviously how you partner with marketing teams, departments, the communities that you guys obviously build. You recently had the entire company from engineers to support posting video content for a massive launch, which I was part of, thoroughly enjoyed that. How do you guys encourage everyday employees and people in general to become the face of your brand? Like, how does the human media strategy actually help win deals against like much other competitors or people within your space?
Yeah, it's a super important question. I feel like we've been talking about employee advocacy for like 20 years and like no one's cracked the right formula for employee advocacy, but I think the data is like everything's signaling, and it's been signaling for a long time, that people trust humans more than they trust brands. And obviously people want to hear it from the horse's mouth and they want it to be authentic. And so how can we really try and create a culture that makes people feel safe doing that? So I think about a few like maybe learnings that we've had and how we've been able to do that. I think the first thing I want to unpack is like our founder brand and the importance of founder brand. I think 2026 continuing to be the year
Yeah.
of founder brand. And it's interesting because our founder was, I'd say, quite challenging to get on board with publishing regular content on X and LinkedIn up into a certain point. And I think that's natural for a lot of founders who want to protect their voice, want to be in control of kind of what's going on their channels. So as many attempts as we might have had of like ghostwriting for him or saying, okay, well, we've prepared this pack for you, or let's sit down once a week and try and pre-schedule your posts. It ultimately had to be an initiative from him that he bought into, and actually finding a ghostwriter that partnered with him to create an entire kind of build with me content strategy has actually accelerated, I think, both his confidence in seeing it in the results, but as well as the impact of that through our, I guess, employee led social strategy. So looking at the numbers since we've actually started like keeping a regular drumbeat of founder content over the last quarter, we've actually saw impressions 3 times the amount coming to from his channels than from our organic LinkedIn channel alone. So that's just like huge. And we have an MMM model that we use, and we're actually starting to see that translate. So I'm saying impressions. It's actually revenue is what I wanted to say,
Oh,
incremental
amazing.
revenue.
Okay, even better.
Actually, I'm
Even
picturing
better.
it in my head, his own brand. So
Mhm.
that's like a channel we're not going to turn off, and it's super critical. To your question around how do you then get employees to do it? Well, naturally, when they're looking up, right? They're looking up, they're looking across. And so it's a little bit of leading by example. And another example that we've got is our CPO. He's super talented. He's building, or sorry, Chief Product Officer. He's building a lot of the brilliant new innovations that are coming out of the business. And he's got a great following of product people following him on, X and LinkedIn, but not necessarily yet a big part of our ICP. And so what he's been doing though is almost teasing versions of our product before they've actually come
Love
alive.
that.
And that's been
Yeah.
a great way to get people on a wait list, as well as like see what the reaction is so we can kind of reprioritize our roadmap. And I think there's been a lot of inspiration coming from him So thinking about two big launches we did this year. One was the launch of Fabric, which was our proprietary turn any image into a talking head video model.
Yeah.
And when I
Which
look
is
at the
fantastic, by the way. Just anybody
yeah,
listening,
well,
it
and
is an
I think we
incredible
turned
tool.
you into a Fabric, didn't we? We turned you into a talking AI avatar, I guess, if you
Yeah.
will. I think what was interesting around that is it wasn't just like pushing a launch each week and pushing a new feature. It was actually like 2 to 3 weeks of a drumbeat of content, and it meant that our employees could get like really excited about what we were building, and they wanted to like tell that story because it was ours. Like they were proud of it. And then I think what really worked to unlock that advocacy was internally creating like almost a how-to guide. This is how easy it is. Anyone can create, upload go to Nana Banana, upload your headshot, create all these different versions of yourself, and then push it through our platform, with a script. And it became like an internal competition where people were like, "Hey, I'm an astronaut. Look, I'm flying to the moon. Hey, look at me, I'm an alien." And I think then when people started sharing that content out on their socials, it gave the others more confidence to then have that reach. The campaign you're referring to is we did a study towards the end of last year around the guide to video marketing because AI is changing everything and the different use cases that marketers should be thinking about. And one of the biggest takeaways was like confidence and like actually confidence in marketers in creating their own content. And I think by having everyday people, as well as the partners like yourself and some of the other like key industry leaders that we had work on the campaign with, everyone wanted to like be part of that imagery, right? Like everyone turned their headshots on LinkedIn into something different. We all had the same look and feel. And then that actually like compounded interest in people engaging with the campaign because of employees. So I think long story short is there's no, I think, exact formula. You have to give employees and teams tools to play and be safe and let them know that it's okay to go ahead and have fun on LinkedIn and have a voice and have an opinion because
Yeah.
it's the authentic content that's gonna resonate. I'm just gonna add one other point because it's not so much a plug for Veed, but something I talk a lot about is like how you can give your teams a safe playground to create brand approved content.
Mm.
And it's a very real use case where like sales teams, for example, like how I'm sure you yourself with the agency like thinks about this, like how can we get more people to do social selling for us, right? Like,
Yeah.
can our sales teams please just go out there and like talk about our brand? And a lot of times when you talk to them, they're not doing it because they're thinking, well, my audience isn't the same audience as our ICP. So is it going to reach the right people? Or I don't want to go through the brand team and like make sure that like the subtitles I'm using are brand approved or I've got the logo in the right place. And, tools like Veed give enterprise teams that power, right? To like lock in a brand kit. So it's your font, it's your logo, it's your subtitles, it's your intro, outro, background music, etc. And I like to say that it's like a bit idiot proof. Like this is how you unlock confidence with teams, right? You
Yeah.
give them a safe space to play. So
Yeah.
that's the end of like I think my point I wanted to make there
No,
is
no, I
it's not easy. Yeah.
no, no, I appreciate you sharing that. I think the things that really stood out to me, I think the obviously creating a safe place for your team in order to do that, leading from the front, from the founder brand. I think that's really key, and we are seeing that transition take place like way more within the world of business in general. Even the fact that I'm sure you've seen recently on socials, there's a big push for tech companies hiring storytellers, which is something I would
Storytellers
never
what?
thought. You know what I mean? Like you never thought you would have seen that, and it's not they're not high. It's like it's not a quote unquote technical role, but like it's so needed now in today's market, right? And there is so much skill behind how you can effectively tell stories from the founder brand right through to obviously your employees. That fundamentally it will have a massive impact on your business. And I love the fact that providing them with the tools, but giving them the permission to do so, ensuring there's a level of consistency, removing all the friction
Yeah, the friction,
so
yeah.
they have the highest chance of success and they can have fun with it. Fundamentally, that is, what everybody wants. And over time it will compound and as it has for you guys, and you'll see and people will see the return. So yeah, hopefully your example is an example for many to be like, today is the day that we start posting content as a team across the board. But yeah, I'm excited to see more information on the whole storytellers being hired
And
as it were
and I've
across.
got to take responsibility for that as well. So, I'm thinking about my own social brand and how I kind of lead from the front with that. And why I think that's so important for this specific use case is like, I'm a marketing leader selling to the marketing use case. And I put my hands up in most conversations I have to say, like, I'm not natively creative. I've never learned basic, graphic design skills, but I'm able to like use these tools and put out video content that I never thought I'd have the capability to do. And so if I can tell the story about how easy it is for me to create content using AI or not using AI, telling stories, but also naturally being myself, it's going to give confidence to other marketers that, hey, this is how they should actually think about leveling up both their own employee advocacy strategy as well as their video strategy when it comes to putting content out there.
Yeah, no, love that. Absolutely love that. Well, it means that, guys, you heard it here first. 2026, more content from Lisa
Don't
is
hold me to it.
pending. Is pending. Is pending. So in terms of course, like, I guess bridging that gap, right? So everybody's posting content, your founders posting content, your team is posting content. We know the importance of that. A lot of companies get quote unquote engagement, right? Whether it be good engagement or bad engagement, they are getting some level of engagement. With you guys, obviously, there's a clear focus behind why you implement some of these strategies, right? The focus is fundamentally growth. So, how do you turn these like media moments, these campaigns that you guys run, from the fact that there's a strong foundation of content being produced from your internal leaders, as it were, into like seller ready assets? Like, how do you utilize this content to shorten your sales cycle, right? Like turning that brand attention into revenue.
Yep. No, it's very topical. It's a very topical discussion point because as we kind of opened the episode talking about is like we had all this organic growth that just kind of fell on our laps and we actually have to create new demand. So like what are the channels that we're looking to create new demand? And some of those are online channels, which we'll touch on, and then some of those are offline channels like community, for example, which is something I'm really passionate about. But when we think about leveraging video and leveraging video to create growth, we kind of talked about I'm putting it in four buckets. I think first is the founder brand, the employee advocacy side of employee generated content, which we touched upon. The second is the organic social strategy. The third is our paid strategy. And then the fourth is our influencer strategy. And so, just to take you on a little bit of a journey, historically, we had a very, I think, well staffed in house creator team. And our social strategy was predominantly across Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. And it was a lot of like social media pro to social media pro content. And in my opinion, I thought it was really strong. It worked really well because it was very storytelling led. It was very kind of, I can relate to you. And therefore, I want to use your product. And what's shifted in our entire business strategy is we're not just a video editor anymore. We're not just for social media managers. This is a tool that anyone can be using in their business, but specifically we're seeing more modern marketers, more kind of full stack generalists who are being expected to kind of do the job of 10 different people. And part of that is to run social or create the video content or what have you. And so what that means is that we've actually accelerated the AI capabilities that we've been able to ship as a business. And we've gone from like, let's do one big product launch every quarter to, oh my gosh, we're shipping something every week, if not every
Yeah.
day. And at that point in time, there was a fundamental shift on how we thought about social from being not just purely storytellers to actually showing our community how important it is that we are at the cutting edge of AI
Mm,
innovation. And that meant that we evolved our strategy very, very heavily onto X, especially in the last kind of last 2 quarters of last year, which was a huge surprise, I think, to a lot of people because X is such a divisive platform. And I think that's when you and I first met, where we kind of talked about like, yeah, but is that actually driving revenue? Is it driving pipeline? Is it where your audience is? And these are all the same questions we were asking ourselves internally. But what's really interesting is by leveraging X, getting over like 1 million views per
incredible.
post alone, it was
Incredible.
bonkers. It actually was a fantastic, like, boomerang strategy. The amount of people who came out of the woodwork being like, "Oh, I haven't used Veed in years. I had no idea you guys have evolved into, like, an
Love
AI
that.
first platform. Like, I need to
Amazing.
try all this stuff out." It was just like it's resurrected the brand, and so our goal of reach and frequency on X to get attention of investors, to get attention from the AI enthusiasts and the tech community, while we didn't necessarily see it translate directly into subscriptions or leads or signups, the reach and frequency did help the brand reach that we wanted to achieve. So I think it goes back to like how we're measuring these things is kind of one point. But we've also then recognized by shifting a lot of our weight on X and LinkedIn, we were neglecting the core channels and that core storytelling that I think we lost with the shift in strategy on Instagram and TikTok specifically, which are huge channels from a search perspective as well, right? And where our ICP is. So I guess to summarize that is I'm definitely seeing an evolution of how our social strategy is going to shift into next year to really find the right message at the right time for the right channel. You've got your AI hype that works well on X. You've got your more human side of things that works well on LinkedIn, and then you've got kind of more of the creative angles and how-tos happening on the other platform. So that's kind of the organic strategy in a nutshell. What we found though is that naturally, as we already described, is people want to buy from people, they don't want to buy from brands. And that influencer, and this is no surprise, you're hearing it from Lovable, you're hearing it from Gamma, you're hearing it from all the brands who've exceeded a gazillion dollars in ARR. Influencer is our most a CAC efficient acquisition channel.
Amazing.
We've got a really strong investment in influencer. We've taken a quarter of our paid search budget and moved it into influencers.
Amazing.
So
Wow.
we are
Okay.
betting big on that for us into next year. And we can see direct signups and leads coming from that as a channel. So
And
go ahead.
And just on that note, like, would you say, obviously there's a big shift between the influencer market and the creator market. Like, when you say the word influencer, are you partnering with more creators who have a deeper relationship with you guys, as it were, a partnership with you guys, or is it more so you guys like started with influencers, shifted to creators? Like, where is that shift? Because obviously for different brands and products, both types,
It's a
as it
great
were,
question, and I'm
differ.
probably using the word interchangeably. So slap me on the wrist there. I would say it's definitely more, we're calling it the influencer strategy, but it's definitely a creator led strategy. And so there's three pillars of it. We're obviously targeting, our core ICP of marketers. So we're, on LinkedIn, for example, we work with different style of marketing influencers, I'd say
Yeah,
in that bucket,
yeah.
the Sophie Millers of the world and Pretty Little Marketer and, a few others.
Shout out Sophie.
Yep. Shout out. Excellent partner. Then we also work with the creators themselves. And this works, of course, our big part of our YouTube strategy is creator led, as well as our Instagram and TikTok strategy. So these are people who are actually creating with our product, showing people how to use it, leveraging and telling that story. And then, of course, you've got your AI enthusiast, which is more X oriented, who's kind of interacting with that content that we're putting out of there. And that's a mix of influencers and creators, depending on the brief. So I'd say it's blended, very much so, probably at the micro creator slash influencer level. Lots of learnings as we've tried different relationships on different channels. And, what we've seen is like for the same amount of revenue impact, we can work with a much smaller pool on Instagram than, let's say, engaging with 250 people on X to kind of comment and retweet and engage to get that reach. So definitely bringing those learnings into next year as we continue to scale. Your organic and your creator-led strategy go hand in hand, right? Because naturally, if we're launching a campaign, we're launching a product, we're going to have our own assets that we're going to produce. We're going to want then to give these partners a brief that reflects kind of their own interpretation of what the message we want to put out there, and give them the independence to obviously use their creative skill set to produce what they're going to produce. And then that ties neatly into the final pillar, which is the paid strategy. And I don't know if this is a surprise to you. It was a surprise to me when I joined a little over a year ago, but we don't have, and we've never had, like an always on paid strategy here at Veed.
It just shows how good the product is. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. The fact that you haven't, because my argument with paid, I think it's an ad tax to weak brand positioning or brand equity. So if you have a strong brand, I think you don't need to have an always on paid strategy. I think paid should fundamentally be used to enhance what's already working versus to try to like buy your way into the market, because then it's very much down to who has the bigger wallet. And I
Uh-huh.
think like, in the long run, eventually when that, for example, those funds stop, your pipeline drives up. So I think you guys have done it in the best way possible. The fact that you haven't always had one and you now are exploring that.
And I think it's definitely very much a test and experimentation phase, but I also agree with you. And I think when you have the luxury to leverage a full funnel paid strategy where you can talk about brand messaging and top of funnel to reinforce key messages, much more valuable than just pushing BOFU conversion based
Yeah.
ads and just like spreading your wallet really, really thin. And, people, again, if you don't have like brand awareness is the tide that lifts all boats, right? If people love your brand, they love your product and they see your ad, it makes sense. So that's a core part of our experimentation strategy into next year. And, creators are part of that as well. So, you've got your kind of awareness, your prospecting ads, you've got your retargeting, and then you have your creator partnership ads, right? So those creators who are creating great content, Why wouldn't we be leveraging that to drive more signups for us rather than, again, our own brand? And that's proving to work really well. Saying all of this, we've got kind of founder, organic, influencer, and paid. Going back to that agentic go-to-market motion that we talked about building at the
Mm,
start of the episode, that's going to be key, right? Because then when
100%.
you know who you're targeting, you know what the signals are, and then you layer the paid on top of that, we're hoping, based on the forecasting we've done, that that workflow will 3 times the revenue return for our enterprise level targets.
So what I'm hearing, I think, in terms of the content and brand in general, shortening your sales cycles, right? You guys are producing content across all the appropriate funnels. You've invested massively, and I think this is testament to the fact that you guys haven't bought your way into the market, as it were. Like you have a very strong brand. And I like the fact that as well, even if even entering new channels such as, for example, X, and you said that people are like, "Hey, I didn't know, like, I haven't used Veed in ages," as well. I think that's amazing. There's probably so many dormant
Yeah.
users, or from many like tech products and platforms, as it were, that they just stopped using or don't, and they're not aware of said brand anymore. And I think it goes to show that again, the importance of nurturing, goes to show the importance of leveraging brand accordingly consistently. Because I think my biggest thing with paid ads in general, if you haven't got I told someone this yesterday, if you haven't got a strong brand, it's like pouring water into an empty bucket. Like it's not going to do anything. Do you know what I mean? It's very much like it's a losing battle. And I say the same thing with cold outreach. I say the same thing with all the other potential verticals that you could use as a way to generate leads and generate demand. They all work. Yes, there's no one way of doing something, but I strongly believe that brand is still the biggest growth lever that any tech company can have. And
Music
I
to my
think,
ears. I love it.
right? Do you know what I
Yep.
mean? It's just, it doesn't, and it's like, and I appreciate there's always this battle between like brand versus like performance marketing and like, where's the ROI and da da da. But like, as you've just walked us through, like, with a strong GTM flywheel, with a strong, GTM motion, as it were, like you can track the ROI from brand effectively. You can attribute success, you can attribute lead generation, signups, all that great stuff. You just need to spend the time in doing it and understanding the technical side of how brand actually generates ROI. But no, honestly, I'm really excited to see all this come together over the coming months. But yeah, no, appreciate you breaking that down in
No, no,
depth.
I'm more than happy to. My favorite example, though, is like you think about, okay, let's hope sales teams are on the phone still, right? But like, when they're ringing up and like they're like, "Hey, it's James from Veed." They're like, "No, no, Veed, no, Veed, Veed, Veed." Versus like when they're like, "Oh yeah, James. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Where did you hear about us? Oh, I'll let our
Yes,
marketing team know." I'm just like, boom, bag, right? Like that's the conversation you want people to be
it
having, right?
changes the entire dynamic of the conversation, right? Instantly. Versus like reaching out to somebody cold, it's like they already know you, they already know what you guys do, the problem that you guys solve. They've been hit maybe from multiple different like touch points across different platforms, as it were. Like it's a very different type of conversation. So if you are, for example, selling into an enterprise, or even if it's a self-serve, right, and they've landed on your site, like by that point, they're already bought in, and it's very much a case of they're going to make the decision, they're going to convert, right? So I think, yeah, it does highlight again and reinforce again the importance of brand and why it is. I strongly believe that the biggest growth lever that most tech companies should be investing in, and you guys are a prime example of how that's done effectively.
Thank you. And brand is back. 2026. Brand
Brand
is
is back,
back.
exactly. You know it. So I think obviously you guys have gone all in on AI. I appreciate the transition and that pivot, and it does make up a lot of your revenue now on a year to year. So like as a leader within the space, like behind the scenes, what was that? How was that pivot? Did it feel risky, as it were, like to stop building like the standard tools that you guys had, and then doubling down on new AI features, new features, and kind of being at the intersection of like growth and innovation? Like what was that process for you guys?
Great question. I will say, like, I don't want to speak on behalf of the CEO and any big strategic decisions that were made there and why and how, but I'd say from a marketer and as a marketing team, it was a shift in the sense of, like I said, we went from like quarterly or like biannual big campaign or product release cycles to having to reinvent our go to market to actually, release ship something new each week, if not each day. And that meant like, how do we actually rally around our go to market? How do we plan? How do we make sure that we have the right touch points for the customers other than just shouting, "Hey, we have this new thing." So it completely changed the way as an operating model we worked as a marketing organization. But I also will say that while it was really important for us to showcase our kind of AI first capabilities and reposition ourselves as not just an editing platform, but really an AI video creation platform that really blends this intersection of AI generation and AI capabilities with editing, both in a traditional sense and using AI to edit. I think it was an opportunity, like we talked about, like with X, to re educate the market on who we are and what we we can do. And I'd say from a product investment standpoint, it really is that intersection that we're going to continue to be focusing on. So we not only have our own proprietary models, but we also integrate all of the industry's best models. You've got your VO3, Kling 2.5, your Sora 2. So people can come to Veed and actually build and play and experiment in creating with AI and then doing the editing all in one place. You can even do image generation, then video generation, then editing, which means I think we're going to save a lot of people time in terms of like being that one-stop shop. What that also means, though, is we're not losing our core of who we were as an
Mm.
editor as well. There's a lot of, I think, you know, optimization, if you want to call it, or that we're going to see, into next year as well to make
Love
sure
that.
that it's a great user experience. We're not just ticking the AI box, but we're actually creating workflows that will be meaningful for marketers to get their jobs done, like going back to jobs to be done and
Yeah.
actually providing value.
And I think on that point, right, like in with the shift that we're seeing in general as to the requirements that most marketers now have on them when when they are part of a marketing team, whether they're like the only marketer within a business or whether they're part of a much larger department, I think there is a lot more expectation as to what needs to be done, how quickly it needs to be done, as it were. And I think systems or content systems, workflows, I'm
Hmm.
starting to see those words pop up way more often. And I think because they are fundamentally really important, because again, it's about removing friction, removing time to asset, removing, time to market, and again, the fact that you guys have built that and you continue to do so, I think will only support the many people who do need the support, as it were. Because let's be honest, marketers normally have 101 things to do.
Yep.
So yeah,
Workflows is the name of the game, I think,
it
into
is.
this year. We're gonna be doing a lot of content around that.
Love that, love that. Well, I guess the takeaway for those who are currently listening, thank you so much once again, and as well, thank you so much, Lisa, for all of the value that you've dropped. The 30-day experiment. What is it going to be? So, if a GTM leader or a marketer is listening right now and they're currently stuck, you would say, in a boring marketing cycle, nothing's too exciting, as it were. Like, what is the one video-led experiment they should run over the next 30 days to actually start seeing results, the similar results to some of the stuff that you guys have seen when it comes to leveraging a brand, or the results you're going to continue to see in the future?
Okay, that's a big question. And I'll candidly say that, my partner who's VP of growth is probably leading more of these experiments within our organization. So I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I'd say there's so much I want to say because I want to say, like, oh, go out there and get your founder brand going or do your employee advocacy and start your community. But I would say that if you already are thinking about paid ads, you should really start thinking about how to leverage AI for your paid ad strategy.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying this is we've actually, with our shift to testing paid at the moment, we've actually been able to see a 60% reduction in CAC with our AI first video ad strategy. We've actually reduced production time by 3 times, and we're actually producing 1 ad a day, even with
Jeez
those
Louise.
numbers. And the reason being, this is so important, is if you don't know, Meta has a new algorithm. They released a new algorithm like sometime towards the end of last year. Forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, but it's called like Andromeda, something like this. And it's basically reacting to your creative. So it's no longer just about like your firmographic targeting and your budget and all of that in terms of the algorithm kind of responding to what it's showing your audience. It's factoring in the quality of the creative and the engagement it's getting. And it's serving different creative to different audiences based on different behavioral things. And so we've managed to create this formula where we're actually feeding this algorithm the similar concepts where we're just changing one variable. So it could be the content angle, it could be the actual talent where we're switching a man for a female or, different gender or, profiles, and then the hook. So it's kind of the content of the video, the type of video, the talent, and then the hook. And by feeding a different variation of this into the system, it's then giving us faster feedback cycles. We're able to optimize for our ROI quicker. And that's just the name of the game at the moment is volume of creative. And so I think there's a lot of people who may have been doing video ads a certain way for a long time. And if you want to experiment, I would experiment of like what that formula looks like for you guys and see if it changes your results.
That. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate your time. I guess to wrap up and give a really high level overview of everything we've obviously discussed. I know we went through everything from founder led content, employee led content, the power of course optimization, time to asset. how you guys are continuing to position yourself within the space at the intersection of obviously innovation and AI, which is incredible. I also love the biggest takeaway is that obviously brand is still and will continue to be the biggest growth lever. And you guys are a massive testament to that. And yeah, really excited to see what you guys continue to do. And I'm excited to see the GTM motion
I wanna show it to
come
you.
into
Yeah, I
flow.
can't wait to see it too. Let's hope we hit those 3 times revenue targets we've set ourselves.
We'll have you back again so you can walk us through how everything went. But no, thank you so much, Lisa. Guys, if you are listening to this, please do give Lisa a follow on LinkedIn. I'm not sure if there's any other platforms that
No,
you want to be
LinkedIn's the
followed on.
best one. More than happy to connect with anyone and have a chat behind closed doors.
And most importantly, guys, check out Veed because it's an incredible platform, incredible product, and I've used it myself, and it's awesome, super easy, and genuinely, I think it's an absolute game changer. So yeah, please do check out Veed. But no, thank you so much, Lisa, and yeah, we'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thank you.